Hey, Pet Service Pros, this is your host, Anthony Flores. Before we get to the show, I would like to personally extend an invitation for you to join us at Pierre.fm. Pierre is a pet service marketplace that helps pet service stores accept bookings through our website and super simple to use mobile app. Just think, guys, Expedia for pet services. It's free to join. There are no setup fees, no minimums. You only pay when you get orders, and you can cancel our service anytime. Guys, consumer behavior is changing and consumers expect a simple and transparent way to book your services. Whether you're an established pet service store and looking to stay ahead of the game or new to the pet service industry, Pierre can help you to grow your business. To learn more, visit us at Pierre.fm today. Pierre.fm. Now let's get to the show. Since recording this interview, the world has completely changed, and COVID-19 has severely threatened the existence of small businesses all across the country. It's almost as if we fast forwarded 10 years into the future, literally overnight. While most small businesses closed down due to restrictions or realized that the inevitable was coming either way, our guest on today's episode, Rachel Long, with the fast-growing pet supply store Pet Project LA, has decided to go a different route and keep her doors open. Today, we're going to learn how Rachel went from an employee at Pet Project LA to the owner. We'll also learn how she completely redesigned the shopping experience to cater to the changing landscape. And finally, how she's using local delivery to compete with the Amazons and the Chewies of the world. You guys are going to love her story. We hope you enjoy the show.
From the Pierre headquarters in Los Angeles, Pierre presents The Shift, a pet services podcast. A show where pet service pros learn the latest trends in design, marketing, technology, and the stories from other pet industry entrepreneurs and the businesses they built.
The Shift. Rachel, it's so good to meet you. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
You know, after hearing your story, I wanted to point something out to you that you epitomize the shift in several ways, actually, and I'll tell you how. Are you curious to know how?
Absolutely. Please do.
So one, and we'll get into this in detail, you guys, in a bit, but one, the transition from an employee to an owner.
Yes.
That's not easy to do, to turn that on and off, especially if you've worked, a quote unquote job a majority of your adult life. To shut that off and to switch to becoming an owner, completely different mindset. So that's one. Two, you're literally starting over. So you cleared, products, shelves, and kind of started from scratch. And we'll kind of go into that more detail later.
Yes.
So am I accurate so far?
Yes, it seems so. Yes.
So tell us about Pet Project LA and what do you do?
Yeah, so Pet Project LA, we're a small pet store in downtown. And really, I think where we stand out most is the atmosphere within the store. So how we relate to our customers and also the unique products that we have to offer.
I want to comment on that because I was looking at, prior to you coming out, I was checking out some reviews that I captured here. And I just want to kind of get, your response here and tell me what you think. Yelp, you've got almost perfect 5 stars. There's over 100 reviews here. And here's just a few. Local delivery of over 75 is free. Today was my second time ordering delivery. And the service is just amazing. It arrived less than an hour. I also sometimes visit the store and all the staff is so helpful and nice. Here's another, a seriously darling store run by a wonderful person. I love finding gems like this in the city. Prices are fair, the people are lovely, and I love that we can just walk over from our apartment.
Yeah, that's so good to hear.
That's actually pretty cool stuff. We'll talk about the delivery because I think that is a huge advantage that you have over some of the big stores.
Yeah, absolutely.
We love that. So So take us back a bit. Let's just kind of go back into your backstory a bit and tell the listeners, I guess, how in 2016 you were working for Pet Project LA, and then a year later you become the owner.
Yeah, so I moved to downtown with Shakespeare, my dog, who's a pit bull.
And we've got him sitting. He's a big boy too. He's laying down. He thinks he's a puppy. It's so cute.
Absolutely. He's very excited to meet everybody that he does, you guys included. But yeah, I moved to downtown and I actually was looking for a job. I had majored in social work in school, but then I was like, well, I also love animals. So I searched Craigslist for some jobs in that realm and found a pet store right a block away from where I lived hiring. So I applied and got that job. And yeah, a year and a half later, I became the manager, the store manager. And then 2 months later, I was offered to buy the business. And so I did.
I mean, that's pretty amazing. So let's talk about, I guess, you had mentioned, we previously spoke about this, and you had mentioned that the owner was kind of like a mentor for you. And I want to know if you can kind of talk about your relationship and, how did she have that type of trust in you and your abilities?
Yeah. The previous owners were a couple. It was Jay and Melanie. And Jay was the closest one to the business, I would say. So I became very close to him. He has supported me the entire way, which has been just amazing. Yeah, he's good vibes all the way, and I absolutely love him.
So, usually what you hear is like when someone, wants to get out of a business, there's trouble on the horizon, right?
Sure.
So I'm just kind of curious, and not all the time, but a lot of times, someone's handing over their problem to someone else. I wanted to know, like, how did you analyze this business and make sure it was a good and sound investment?
Yeah, well, it was partly a gamble because unfortunately it was running at a loss before I took it over. So it was just looking at the numbers and seeing where I could cut costs. And also, yeah, just paying attention to all the things that were needed and could improve. And also, since I was the manager, I was so close to, the day-to-day of the business. Yep. So just making sure that that was still all possible while cutting costs as well.
So let's unpack that a little bit. When you say that it was kind of running at a loss, was it, the lease that was pricey, or were there products that you're kind of losing money on, or can you kind of go into details for someone that may be having the same issue? It would be interesting to kind of see what your thought process is and what you kind of eliminated and what you decided to double down on.
Yeah, I mean, really it just came down to me taking more responsibility for like accounting needs and payroll and things like that that were delegated before I took over to other people. So, I mean, that was a large portion of it, just the accounting needs and other things like that. And
how were you able to do that? Did you have, like a background in analyzing businesses, or how did you figure that out?
I looked at the profit and loss statement and I just put lines through things that I were like, this is not going to work anymore. And I have to find a different alternative. So that's how I did it.
So, I guess now that you've figured out, where they were actually losing,
I want to talk about the next step, and the next step as far as now kind of starting from scratch in some ways, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because of downtown changing so much, I really think that their original business model wasn't working anymore. Basically, they had a lot of, in the accessory realm, basic accessories. And now people want, a collar that says something about their dog. It's a statement piece instead of just a collar.
So you kind of read what was happening in the market, and you had a direct relationship with the customers coming through. So I'm guessing, is that how you kind of did product development?
Yes and no. I also was able to just look at some of the amazing business owners around me and also see like the kind of community that they were building, and then see how I could fit into that. So yeah, on like Instagram and stuff like that, I found some really amazing local makers that make dog products.
So yeah, you mentioned that to me, and I thought that was actually kind of interesting, kind of cool actually, where you looked at another local pet-related service store, and you simply went through, this is kind of genius, you went through their followers, and anyone that was, I guess, local in LA, you would then follow them and then kind of check out their products, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So how important, I guess, is working with local vendors to Pet Project LA?
It's extremely important. I definitely believe in supporting the community that supports us as much as possible. And with our products, it's always important to have quality products being offered to our babies. So, yeah.
So what do you do? Do you order perhaps a sample, or how do you stress test these products to make sure that, they're one, quality, and two, a good fit for your store?
I trust the makers, first of all, to make things that are strong enough for dogs. But really it's just looking at their websites and going through things. I mean, you can tell a lot from a picture usually. So, yeah.
And are there specific things for those that have not been inside your store? What type of product do you focus on?
Cute products, fun products.
So you've got leashes. You brought
Right.
one in here, a nice, like the quality of the leather is just really, really good. So
Yeah.
you've got leashes. I know that you guys are big on dog food also.
Absolutely. Yes.
So of the products, which are the biggest sellers? Is it the food? Is it accessories?
It's probably about half and half between food and accessories.
Mm-hmm. And how do you, as far as food, I'm always curious about this. I mean, this is super key for the longevity of all of our pets, right? Talk about the food choices that you make, and what's the screening process like when it comes to choosing the right food to carry?
Right. So, luckily, the previous owners did do a really good job in curating the dog and cat food and bunny food that we offer. So that was very helpful. But basically, if I look at a new brand and consider a new brand, I want to make sure that there are no scary meat meals or byproduct meal or corn. Basically things that are meant for dogs to digest and cats to digest.
That's fantastic.
It's very important.
Talk about the delivery. I think this is we want you guys to shop local. I mean, it's just so key to support local stores, right? And I'll give you an advantage in her story, what she has over some of the bigger guys that may take a day or two to actually deliver. Talk about the same day delivery that you guys offer and how that's actually being done.
Yeah, so here in downtown, we have a local courier named PDQ. Stands for Pretty Damn Quick, and they definitely live up to their name. Basically, if you order online through our website, you can have it there usually within the hour, as the person in the review stated. But if not, definitely within 2 hours. So yeah, it's amazing. If you need anything last minute, definitely check us out on our website.
And I think, again, talking about the shift in consumer behavior, I think more and more people, my guess, you'll start to see this where delivery is becoming, the norm, right? Are you starting to, I guess, talk about when you first started offering that service, and do your customers forget sometimes that the option is there?
I definitely do think that customers can forget. Whenever I'm working the store, I always try to remind them like, oh, that's a really heavy bag. If you ever need it delivered, check us out on our website, or, something like that. But it actually was already a service that we offered prior to me becoming the owner. We used to have our own delivery vehicle, but that was one of the costs that I cut. So now we employ a local courier, which is also amazing and supporting another local business.
I think that's smart because say you're driving, God forbid, someone, you get into an accident, right?
Sure.
Now that becomes a liability, right?
Right. Yeah.
So
it does also add that into the insurance
that's right
aspect.
One comment, I was reading another review, and I think it was the one that there was a couple actually that referred to the feeling of a small store that you have.
Right.
Talk about that, and how did you kind of create that in-store feel?
Well, we are 330 square feet, so that helps a lot. But the staff is just so personable, and I think that we really do create an atmosphere where people feel at home. They feel safe. They can ask questions and not be looked at weird or, whatever. We try to make it feel nice for everybody.
So you have, so good news is that you're growing.
Yes.
Right? And you guys are moving.
Yes, we will be moving. Hopefully, definitely within the next 2 months. Just right to the next building over. We'll be at 528 South Spring Street instead of 548. We just want to confuse everybody. So
talk about, I guess, you're currently running your store now.
Yes.
And then has the lease started on the new place? Can you go in there and start working on it, or
We will be able to a month out from our move-in date.
Oh,
or
perfect.
from our yes.
So what are you guys doing now? We had discussed off the air about common theme that comes up a lot is your boyfriend. He's super supportive.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I want you to kind of talk to the listeners about the wood shop. And the stuff that you guys are doing is super scrappy.
Yeah. I'm building all of the new furniture and fixtures for our store. So I've finished all the shelving so far. It's just 2x4s and 1x3s so far. We're getting aluminum tomorrow, which is very exciting. So then we'll actually be able to assemble the shelving. It's been really fun. I never thought that I would work with wood ever, but I'm so glad that I've learned how to now. I feel so cool.
You know what? I want to point out that when you're starting something new, this is a great reminder for us to, be as scrappy as we can, so that you want to save as much as you can, because one of the biggest reasons I think that you see a lot of businesses starting up fail is that they're undercapitalized, or they spent more than they should have, or if you start dealing with construction, zoning, etc., it always takes longer than you anticipated.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you have hard costs that are pending in the background. And, it's always, I think this is a great lesson in just being scrappy, right?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
You never expected yourself to bust out, a jigsaw and start building shelves and stuff.
No, definitely not.
So I want to talk about the another thing on the new store. Talk about the in-store experience. What are you guys doing different, and how are you going to try and still capture the feel of something very small and intimate? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be about twice the retail size. So our retail, storefront will be about twice of what we have currently. But it's still small. So I hope that we will be able to still definitely feel as homey. It's just going to be blonde wood and stainless steel, basically, or aluminum, technically. So hopefully it'll still feel kind of homey and nice. But it'll be cleaner, which is amazing. Definitely something I'm looking forward to.
And what about product-wise? Are you making room are you going to add something to the store?
Yeah, I definitely am going to focus more on accessories than we have been. So more pet beds and just the essentials that we don't currently have room for in our current space. So
how do you guys think about, the Amazons? There's externalities, right? Like the Amazons of the world, the Chewies, the Petco and PetSmart. I guess, how do you guys look at and kind of maybe compete, or do you compete at all with these bigger companies?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard to, because they have volume on their side, right? So that's always something that they'll have over us. But a lot of the brands actually in the pet industry are regulating, their MAP pricing, so their minimum price that's allowed for these brands. They're really taking it seriously so that Chewy and Amazon don't necessarily have that big of a leg up on us smaller places. So that's really good to hear and nice of these brands. But I guess the delivery thing, again, is one of the major ways that we're trying to compete with Chewy and Amazon.
How do you, I wanted to kind of go into, on that same point, how do you guys stay in front? What are you doing to kind of stay, top of mind with your customers? We'll kind of go into, marketing and tech, et cetera. Because I think that is just such an important, idea that you've got to figure out a way to stay on top of them. And I'm just curious to know, are you using like tech to stay on top of them? Is there anything, are you using postcards? Like, talk about that process and how you stay in front of your customers.
Yeah, I've definitely done some postcards in the past. We're going to do a major mailing for our new location, which will be really exciting. But to be honest, I have not been the best marketer. I definitely need to step it up in my marketing game. I'm hoping to hire a manager to kind of deal with the day-to-day, which is what I'm doing at the moment. So once that happens, I'll be able to do the fun stuff and really, really pay attention to marketing.
That's going to be huge for you guys.
Yeah.
Both locally and, if you think about it, you've got an e-commerce store. We'll go into that too. What's the strategy there? And I think that if you imagine if you have, that flywheel working on the e-commerce end too, I mean, that can be huge for you guys.
Yeah.
let's go into, now that we're talking about technology, we're living in an omni-channel world, right? Where physical and online commerce in some ways need to work together so that you understand what's happening as far as sales online and inventory offline, right? So I want you to talk about the type of shopping cart technology that you're using, as well as the POS, and how those two work together.
Yeah, so we're using ShopKeep for our point of sale system, which partners with BigCommerce. And if someone buys something on our website, it automatically takes it out of inventory when I'm on the back end of our POS. So it's pretty handy. They worry about all that. I don't have to do any programming myself, but makes it easy for store owners for sure.
We had discussed some of the bigger names out there, and there's a lot of pet service stores that also sell product. And, CBD is like the thing today. And unfortunately, a lot of these larger, well-known companies such as, Square, Stripe, some of these bigger guys, they are not, providing, the capability to accept, charges for CBD, et cetera, through their system.
Right.
Why do you think that is? And do you think that, in the next year or two, how long is it going to take for these guys to, finally see that it's helping and, there's a huge market too for it?
Right. Yeah. To be honest, I don't know why they haven't gotten rid of that rule yet. I mean, it's super outdated to me, which is why I chose the POS system that I did. So I really don't have a good answer for you. I hope that they do it soon so that they can, take advantage of the market, and also the people using their systems will be able to offer those amazing products to their customers.
Did you look at any other, before you guys decided on ShopKeep and BigCommerce, did you look at any other platforms and just to kind of see what they had to offer?
We were on Shopify before, but then I realized that they couldn't accept payment for CBD products. So then I was kind of forced to look elsewhere because I wanted to still carry them and offer them to people because they are very beneficial for people of all kinds and dogs of all kinds and cats.
That didn't quite work out.
No, it didn't. So yep, we were forced to look elsewhere, and then I looked at Square, and then that's the only other one that I looked at before I found ShopKeep.
I want to go back to reviews because I think that getting people in the store obviously is a huge deal, and there's several ways to do that. And one of the ways is actually getting having great reviews. Do you have a strategy for that? Do you ask customers if you were happy? Do you mind leaving a review? There's some bigger companies, they have what they call an NPS score, which is a way of actually them evaluating whether or not you like their service or not, which is the NPS stands for Net Promoter Score, which is big for bigger companies. How do you approach the review process? Because you have a ton of reviews on both Yelp and also Google reviews.
Yeah, to be honest, as a customer, I don't really like an incentive or a weird thing having to do with a review. So I don't really ask anything of my customers in terms of leaving reviews. But so far it's worked. So hopefully that'll keep working. And I appreciate very much everyone that does leave something to say, whether it's good or bad. It's all valuable.
How, speaking of reviews, how often do you get people coming in that say, hey, I read about you on Yelp or I read about you on Google?
Yeah, I mean, a lot, pretty much all of them.
Really?
I mean, pretty much, yeah. If it's a new customer and I'm like, oh, how'd you hear about us? Oh, Google search, or oh, I was on Yelp. Yeah, very common response, absolutely.
And then let's talk about the store, the actual physical location. Do you get a lot of people that are just kind of walking by, or that come into the store and buy, or is it, going back to the whole review thing? Are they usually doing research ahead of time?
We do have people just coming in that happen to be in town, or are just walking by, but definitely more rare than the Yelpers or the Google folks.
Is there anything you're doing with your store to get, I guess, to dress up the windows so that you can kind of pull people in? Is there any, Can you talk about that process?
Yeah, I think our new location is really going to help with that. I mean, it's going to be a completely custom, build out that I'm doing. So hopefully everything will fit perfectly and be aesthetically pleasing and very inviting for people that are walking by.
Going back to, let's talk about social media more, because this is such a huge factor, right? To continue to stay active on Instagram. Facebook is huge. So talk about, I guess, your strategy there. Are you guys actively kind of, pursuing that? Or is it something that at this point is something you need to kind of work on and improve? You have a decent following, I think, as far as Instagram. I think what's really, really powerful are the reviews that you're getting. In Facebook, you can also leave reviews. So talk about like your strategy for both, Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, I definitely want to improve my presence on both. And it just comes down to me making the time for it. I am trying to be more active, but like I've said before, I'm just so consumed by the day-to-day, like doing orders and who knows, you name it, I'm doing it. So hopefully I will very soon have more time to devote to social media.
That's the hard part. You kind of get caught up in, the day-to-day, and, sometimes it's worth maybe, over the holidays, when things start to slow down, people are out of town, that's usually a good time to kind of regroup, step back. And I know it's really, really hard, especially if you're working in the day-to-day. You said that you were interested in hiring a manager. What are you going to look for? And just talk about the culture that you're building with Pet Project LA.
Yeah. For a manager, I would love to have someone that already knows about pet nutrition and also just brand awareness, and also very organized individual, obviously. They'll be doing a lot of different tasks.
And then how would that change the day-to-day for you? Like, where would your focus go?
Yeah, basically on the promotion of our store and hopefully growing our store. So hopefully there'll be prep projects in multiple places other than just downtown.
You see that a lot where, companies, they kind of stagnate or their growth becomes stifled because they have a hard time transitioning from, say, operator to promoter, or from promoter to operator. You see this a lot. Like, there's guys that they're just all hype, this is the greatest thing on earth. This is a great... And then for some reason they hit a wall and they just can't grow because they haven't grown. We talked about this off the air. They haven't been able to grow as an individual, right? Where that shift needs to happen mentally too, to where you're going from an operator now to a promoter.
Right.
How big is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I definitely am looking forward to my upcoming transition. I hope it goes smoothly. I'm sure there will be humps in the road, but it'll be good.
are you seeing, we're here located in downtown Los Angeles, and, there's a new building popping up on every corner, right?
Yes.
Brand new building. And what we're also seeing is there's not a ton of families here in downtown LA.
Mm-hmm.
Their families are their pets.
Yep.
Good for business, right?
Absolutely. And I think that that's a generational trend also. Like millennials and younger are all making pets their babies instead of human babies, or largely so, right? Not everyone. But yeah, and that's why the pet industry is a great place to be right now. It's our babies.
Right. And the weather, I mean, depending on where you guys are at in the world, the weather here, I would say, this year we were talking about the weather, and this has been one of the most beautiful years that I remember. And I'm a native here in LA. We actually had a spring, we had fall, and we definitely had a winter, right? We had rain too, but for the most part, the weather is just phenomenal.
Absolutely. It's great.
So I think that that's also great for pets, right? And
Yep.
for the pet industry as a whole here in the Los Angeles area.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. You can take your babies everywhere.
And it's becoming big. I mean, it seems like every week there's like some kind of event or something something's happening as it's related to, the pet industry.
Yes.
So talk about any of the charities that you're working with, or any rescues that you might be currently working with.
Yeah. We do monthly donations, which is really fun. It gives a place for locals to bring, lightly used accessories or food. Sometimes they'll pick something off the shelf and put it in our donation box, which is really amazing. But this month, it's kitten season in LA, starting strong. So we're donating to Cats at the Studios, which is a rescue for cats and kittens. And they're located in Burbank by all the studios. So that's where their name comes from. And yeah, we've worked with the Bark Avenue Foundation, the Dog Cafe. I'm sure we're going to also work with the Cat Cafe. They're hopefully going to be close by to us too for a smaller location of theirs for the summer for kitten season. So they're looking to move, I think, 300 cats or something in like 3 months, which is
Whoa.
amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are a few. And we also are kind of acting as the distributor for a St. Vincent Meals on Wheels program called Bon Appetit. It's their pet food for clients that have pets. So that's been also really awesome.
The reason, the philosophy behind what you do seems to be super important for the younger generation these days. It's not about, making a ton of money. It's not about, owning. It's not about ownership. It's about experience. It's about, the why. It's about community. I'm hearing this over and over. Do you notice the same thing with your, some of your friends? Do they have, that same purpose and philosophy?
Yeah, I would say so. Everyone is in their own worlds, or can be sometimes, but definitely when I do get to have the precious conversations that kind of go deeper than, oh, how was your day? Good. Yeah, it definitely does seem like everyone that I know, luckily, does have some meaning behind what they're doing, which is really special.
I think that's super special. Tell me about, I guess, when you're not working and you're not in the business at Pet Project LA, what are you doing? How do you even get a day off?
Yes. I mean, technically, no, but yes, I don't work weekends, which has been a blessing. That started like in August of last year. So that has been amazing. Thank you, Amanda.
But the store is still open, obviously, right?
Yes.
Is it open 7 days a week?
Yes, it is. Monday through Friday, it's 10 to 8. And then Saturday, it's 10 to 7. Sunday, 10 to 6. So, yep.
So what do you like to do when you're not there at the store?
Yeah, I love to go out in nature with the dogs, obviously. So much fun. And I don't know, hanging out, watching movies.
Netflix?
Yes.
Are
Netflix.
you watching any shows? Anything interesting?
I'm actually rewatching the X-Files right now, but that's on Prime.
Whoa, classic.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been really good.
Talk about the future. So I guess what are your plans for the future in Pet Project LA?
Really expanding what we currently have and hopefully getting a really good team to help me with that expansion process.
Are any plans on perhaps raising seed money to kind of help you guys grow, or at this point, is it all bootstrapped?
I definitely will need investors or something. Yeah.
So if there's any investors out there looking to invest into a thriving and growing store, you've got the good thing is that you've got something that's working on a small scale, so that
Right.
now you know that you can scale that up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So for people that want to contact you, I guess what is the best way for them to do that?
I'm always on our Instagram. It's at Pet Project LA. You can always just DM us there. If you want to say hey, I'll say hey back.
Thank you, Rachel, so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey guys, we really hope you enjoyed this episode, and thanks so much for listening to the show this week. You can subscribe wherever you're listening, and we love feedback. So feel free to also leave us a review. You can also visit us on Instagram at Book with Pierre. Until next time, I'm Anthony Flores, and you're listening to The Shift, a pet service podcast.